This is an emergency, pure and simple. And I fear that this emergency will be much, much more extreme than Indira Gandhi's emergency, where she arrested all kinds of, railway workers and so on. This is a much more dangerous emergency. The state is the biggest terrorist. The state knows about terrorism when it speaks of it, because the state engages in, employs terrorist tactics all the time. The PFI cases are in the news. And a lot is being said that the PFI is a terrorist organization. I don't know. I don't know much about the PFI, but I know this much, that many of its activists in different parts of the country are engaging in democratic struggles on human rights. I'm not sure what else there is that the government knows of, but I'm dead certain that the government is now running after PFI because many of its young activists, they're not engaging in crime, they're not engaging in violence, but they are certainly engaging in democratic struggles such as the CA, the NRC and other democratic struggles. You might not know that SIMI, when the SIMI case went to the High Court, SIMI was said to be a banned terrorist organization, right? A judge of the High Court, Geeta Mittal, who presided over the tribunal, dismissed the ban, set aside the ban, because the evidence that SIMI, I don't speak for SIMI, I don't even know what SIMI really does, but I know when the government presented the evidence before the court in the SIMI case, Geeta Mittal said that this ban cannot stand. Ultimately, it went to the higher courts and it languished there. So we must look at, many of us may not know much about the PFI, but we must look at the PFI activity and why it is the government is setting out to ban them. Now, surveillance and activists. I saw the Pegasus case very closely in the Supreme Court. It was drama, pure and simple. It had nothing to do with catching surveillance. It had nothing to do with cutting down on surveillance in India. People were asked to hand in their phones. Some great behind-the-scene investigation took place. But actually, Pegasus self-destructs. Pegasus destructs by itself. So you take a phone, you don't get conclusive evidence that your phone is being intruded upon and so on and so forth. On the other hand, there is so much material on India that India bears the largest level of surveillance probably in the world. Largest level of surveillance. No country allows a police officer or a government servant to authorize interception. No country. In the UK it's stopped, in America it's stopped, in the European Union it's stopped. The United Nations has come out with its guidelines. It has to be a judge who will look at what the police officer is asking for, and the judge will say, yes, you can, in national interest, or you cannot. So our case it completely went around all the international practices. Very well entrenched international practices, saying basically no government can do surveillance unless they get permission from a court. And India is one of the biggest democracies that allows this to happen. Himanshu's case, Nandini mentioned, like Teesta, but Teesta was pretty well known in the country much more. Himanshu wrote about a massacre of 16 tribals. There was an encounter with some group, let's say a militant group. Government says a Maoist group, in some vicinity. In anger, The armed forces came to the village and massacred 16 tribals. All that he did was write their FIR. All that he did was go to the Supreme Court and say, order an investigation. We want an independent investigation by an independent agency. And now with the judgment of the Supreme Court says Himanshu didn't know that actually we had registered some FIR somewhere else. But how would Himanshu know? How would tribals know? And the question to be asked is just this. If after 10 years of the case, not a single person is caught for killing those tribals, and every tribal said, they came from so-and-so police station. They came from so-and-so police station. I recognize the police officers who came and attacked our village. And today the judgment says, if you want, it would be advisable to prosecute Himanshu for making false allegations against the Indian forces. This is an emergency, my dear friend. This is an emergency, pure and simple. And I fear that this emergency will be much, much more extreme than Indira Gandhi's emergency, where she arrested all kinds of, railway workers and so on. This is a much more dangerous emergency. The state is the biggest terrorist. The state knows about terrorism when it speaks of it, because the state employs terrorist tactics all the time. There is no shortcut. There is now also no judiciary to help us. We saw it. The judges could see our activists. For what? Languishing in jail 4 or 5 years. Except for the present Chief Justice who let off 1 or 2 people. And I thought that was quite an extraordinary thing to do. Kannan, I think the journalist from Kerala. And Justice Lalit saying, what is his crime? What is his crime? Tell us what is his crime. Gogoi's case in Assam, the judge said, I will accept your charge sheet as it is. Forget what the defense says. What is Gogoi's crime? He was arrested for terrorism in Assam. What is his crime? The Pinjara Tod activist. It's a pattern. The Pinjara Tod activist. The judge said, forget what they say. Forget their defense. You show us from all your papers, from your 1,000-page, I'm told in Colin's case is a 1,000-page charge sheet and so on.
17,000.
From all your 1,000 pages of charge sheet, show us one piece of evidence that shows that the person is a terrorist and we'll keep him in jail. So Pinjara Tod activists came out, Gogoi came out. So many persons can come out. Only if the judges say, forget your story, forget your fairy tale, show me the crime. Show me where these people are terrorists. Apart from giving speeches on Azadi and all that, which we have every right to do, on Azadi and freedom and state terrorism, we have every right to make these speeches. Show us, where are our people who are languishing in jail? Where is the evidence that they are terrorists? And the state cannot show. Not an inch of evidence. Not all our colleagues and friends whose families are in jail. Not an inch of evidence. Storytelling, fancy storytelling, but not a shred of evidence. That is the future ahead for us. A very dangerous future. And no matter how severe the state attack is, we must speak out fearlessly. To hell with you. You put us in jail, you terrorize us, you torture us, you bring our enforcement directorate against us, to hell with you. We speak out, we will not compromise, we will not surrender, we will not give up, and we will not be afraid of this kind of terrorism by the state. Because from inside the court system, we can see an acceleration towards a new emergency. Even lawyers can see today from inside the courts that the greatest terror comes from the greatest terrorist of them all, which is the Indian state. And perhaps no government, not even Indira Gandhi's government, imposed the kind of reign of terror that the present central government has imposed. I want to tell you a few things about some developments taking place which you may not be aware of. About 2 months ago, the Supreme Court in the Maharashtra organized crime case recognized that statements made to a policeman are admissible as evidence. You know that not even the British put it into their Evidence Act. And Parliament, when it enacted the Indian Evidence Act many years ago, said, in view of the propensity of the Indian police to use torture to record statements, it cannot be admissible in a criminal trial. Now, 2 months ago, the Supreme Court referred to the section in the Organized Crime Act and put it in. Then you have the Money Laundering Act judgment, where officers of the Enforcement Directorate are said to be not policemen. Very subtle thing happens. You are not a policeman, therefore you can record the confessions, and therefore those confessions are admissible as evidence. The transition to allowing the police to use statements made to a police officer, not a judge, but to a police officer, is the beginning of the signs of a new emergency. My colleague here spoke of Vatali's case. Why is it that our political activists are in jail today? Why is it that they take so long to come out? Why is it that you stay 4 to 5 years in jail and not come out? Vatali, a Supreme Court judgment. In Vatali, the Supreme Court said that while arguing for bail, even if the document is inadmissible in evidence, the police can rely on it at the stage of bail. Meaning that yes, when the trial goes on, you'll definitely be acquitted. But when you argue for bail, you can use any document, even if it is not admissible in evidence. So if you look at all our Bhima Koregaon cases and you look at all the cases, in all these cases, evidence is used against the accused, which is not admissible but used to deny bail.
खबरों में बने रहने के लिए फोरम 4 को सब्सक्राइब करें और नोटिफिकेशन पाने के लिए बेल आइकन दबाएं।